WWE has never shied away from pushing the boundaries of entertainment, but sometimes they went too far. From storylines that offended fans to angles that blurred reality and fiction, here are the most controversial storylines of all time. In 2007, WWE aired a shock segment where Vince McMahon's limousine exploded, suggesting that his character had died. It was supposed to lead to a major storyline, but just days later, real-life tragedy struck with the Chris Benoit incident. WWE immediately dropped the angle, and Vince McMahon's death was never mentioned again on TV. Perhaps one of the most offensive storylines ever was WWE exploiting Eddie Guerrero's real-life passing. Shortly after his death, Randy Orton claimed that Eddie was in hell during a promo against Rey Mysterio. WWE even used Eddie's name to further Rey Mysterio's underdog storyline. Many fans felt this was extremely disrespectful and distasteful, and to this day, it's one of WWE's most criticized booking decisions. The Eugene character was extremely controversial and disrespectful. For years, WWE actually featured a wrestler whose gimmick was that he had a mental disability. It's hard to believe, but it really happened. Many would assume that Vince McMahon was joking while creating this character, but instead he was featured in many storylines that confused and angered fans. While Lita was never a mother in real life, WWE had saddled her with a storyline miscarriage, and one of the most infamous moments came when Gene Snitsky punted a baby doll into the crowd live on television. In this angle, the child was supposed to be Kane's. He had forced Lita into a relationship as a way to protect her real-life boyfriend at the time, who was Matt Hardy. Back in 2004, the story took a disturbing turn. Kane abducted and restrained Lita, and soon after, she revealed that she was pregnant. While WWE explicitly avoided using the word, the storyline heavily implied coerced sex, which isn't exactly the most sensitive subject matter. A simple rule for wrestling storylines would be to never involve dead babies. Unsurprisingly, this storyline won Wrestling Observer's award for most disgusting promotional tactic of 2004. In 2004, WWE aired a disturbing segment involving Heidenreich and commentator Michael Cole. Michael Cole was shoved against a wall, with Heidenreich looming behind him, and the implication was very obvious and disturbing. It's still remembered as one of the most uncomfortable moments of the Ruthless Aggression era. Shockingly, the whole idea came from Vince McMahon, and it was bizarre that he insisted and let it play out on live television. Triple H is no stranger to controversy. After all, that was the entire ethos of D-Generation X, and one of the most infamous angles came in a love story triangle with Test and Stephanie McMahon. In classic WWE fashion, the planned wedding between Test and Stephanie went completely off the rails. Triple H interrupted and revealed a shocking twist. He had drugged Stephanie and married her at a Las Vegas drive-thru chapel, strongly implying it was without her consent. He even taunted Vince McMahon, saying the only question wasn't if the marriage had been consummated, but how many times. Even in 1999, it was a controversial angle. But in today's era, it would be absolutely unthinkable. Shawn Stasiak's WWE career was nothing if unusual. With two separate runs in the company, first in the late 1990s and then again in the early 2000s, his initial stint was short-lived and forgettable, thanks to an ill-fated gimmick known as Meat. The character was essentially presented as a sex slave for the Pretty Mean Sisters, a faction made up of Terry Runnels, Ryan Shamrock, and Jacqueline. The story often portrayed him as exhausted from servicing the group, which left him losing matches and looking weak. Unsurprisingly, the gimmick didn't last long, and Stasiak would return to the WWE years later during the Invasion angle. There was absolutely no way the Val Venis gimmick would get approved today. His entire character was based on being a porn star, and his name itself was a not so subtle joke. But the wildest part came during a feud with the Japanese faction, Kaientai, in one of WWE's strangest and most infamous storylines. After Val was caught sleeping with the wife of Kaientai's manager, Yamaguchi-san, the group decided on revenge by threatening to cut off Val Venis' penis. In a notorious segment, Kaientai kidnapped him and prepared to deliver the blow with a sword. The scene ended up with an unforgettable line from Yamaguchi-san: "I choppy your pee-pee." Thankfully, the storyline explained Val Venis was spared, in his words, thanks to a little shrinkage. The feud quickly wrapped up afterwards, but the angle has gone down as one of the most bizarre in WWE's history. One storyline that has aged the worst over the years is between Vince McMahon and Trish Stratus. On the March 5, 2001 episode of Raw, Trish was forced to publicly apologize to Vince. What followed quickly crossed into uncomfortable territory, as Vince ordered her onto her hands and knees to bark like a dog in front of the crowd. It was degrading, awkward, and left fans cringing even back then. Credit to Trish Stratus for being a good sport, but this is one storyline that fans never needed to see. It's bad enough when a wrestling storyline involves a dead woman, but adding necrophilia into it takes it into an entirely different level of disgusting. That's exactly what happened in the infamous Katie Vick angle. In one of the most disturbing segments that WWE has ever produced, Triple H was shown simulating sex with a mannequin inside a casket, supposedly mocking Kane. Watching it back today is almost impossible without cringing in disbelief. What made it worse was that this wasn't a throwaway mid-card gimmick. It involved Kane and Triple H, two of WWE's top stars, and it was pushed as a major feud. No one's career benefited from it, and a few fans could claim to have been entertained. All it really did was leave a permanent scar in wrestling history, one that never really fully faded. Unsurprisingly, this storyline won Wrestling Observer's most disgusting promotional tactic of 2002.